Hey, I'm Henrik,
And this is Alex from Nithe.
and we'll see you at the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to another episode of the Tampa Morgue, Season 2, Episode number 92. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host from his studio deep in the tropical inferno we call Tampa Bay, Mr. Ed Webb. How's everything in the web world?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Wrapping up May, man. Can you believe half the year is almost done?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, June's one of the few months that I don't like to come very fast. I don't like it.
You guys have June 1st. We all know what that. Anybody who lives in Florida know what that means. It's
the beginning of hurricane season, baby.
Beginning of hurricane season until November 30th.
We got the Sahara dust coming right now.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, it keeps the hurricanes at bay, man. But it could potentially fuck your air up. That's the only downside to it. It could, depending on where it comes. Like usually Miami, the way they showed it on the news, it was like in a curve. It kind of curves around and then the wind blows it back over Florida. And I've never fucking dealt with that, so I don't know anything about no Sahara dust.
Now, how
What
long
kind of
does
Sahara
that
dust I've ever had? We don't talk about that on the air because it's illegal.
He was smoking it. How long does that that dust? How long does that prevent? Kind of obstruct the hurricanes or?
Usually a couple of weeks, maybe, because it when they show the little, like when they show a hurricane map, how they show how slow it comes, and then they go through the whole from where it started to where it ends. So they're showing this whole thing, and it's a week to 10 days for this dust to travel across the ocean. It's crazy. I'm thinking, could you just imagine, like in a movie plot, just watching dust, just fucking float across an ocean? It's got to be the weirdest thing in the world.
Stops hurricanes, though. We'll take
that's
it.
all
right?
I give a shit about.
Yeah, after last year's, it was crazy.
My
for
insurance
us.
just went up $500, almost $600. I just got my renewal yesterday, and it said literally in there, due to all the hurricanes and all the payouts, you have to pay. And I'm like, I didn't make a fucking claim. Why am I paying?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it, but it's like, it's like car insurance. My car insurance went up. I'm like, I'm getting older. My car insurance, the old adage was the older you got, your car insurance went down.
Not anymore.
Yeah, no, it's just a scam, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I get mine next year. My next month, actually, I should see if mine goes up or not, and I'm sure it will.
Oh, it's going to after your complex.
Yeah, we got hit obviously, twice, and yeah, not fun, man. Looking forward to get rid of that property eventually in the next year or two. But as always, we appreciate everybody who joins us. This is the Tampa Morgue, episode 92. We actually opened up the show with Nithe from Norway, the song "Funeral Death" from the new EP "Funeral Death" that came out on Caligari Records. Actually, comes out Friday, so it'll come out this week. We're gonna have a couple of the guys joining us from the band. Another band that wasn't really on my radar, and I was talking to the owner of Caligari Records, and he actually, sent me over some stuff to check out, and the EP's killer, man. So I was talking to Henrik from the band, and actually he's going to pop on and talk to us today. Him and Aleksander, the guitar player, are going to be on here. So we'll have them on probably in about 30 minutes. They formed in 2020. They put out a demo in 21, an EP in 2024, and then the EP that's coming out this week is the Funeral Death. So Ed, everything's going good on your end otherwise?
Sorry to report, I have nothing. No wheels falling off. I got nothing. No bullets, nothing. I got nothing.
Hey, so it's been a good week,
Yeah, so far.
Nothing new on the monstrosity front?
No, nothing that I can announce. I mean, we're getting ready to go do something. I mean, I talked to you personally, but I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it, so I can't. But yeah, no, just in hiatus.
Well, as we always say, which actually last week we did keep the show right around 2 hours. I think it was exactly at 2 hours.
Yeah, I was when I edited it, I was like, oh, look at that, we can do it.
Yeah, so we're gonna see if we can kind of do the same today. It probably hit around that mark, but So Ed, I got releases and shows. I also have an email that was sent to us. We're going to do a solo a show without guests probably here in the next couple weeks, which I do have some emails that I'll read. This one I'm going to read on this show because it's kind of got it a few weeks ago, and I haven't, we haven't read it on the air. So we're going to do that before we get to the guest tonight too. I also saw, before we get into the shows, because there are some shows that I'll announce coming up, I did see that I Hate God and Crowbar announced a tour, which will start off August 8th at the Brass Mug.
Yeah, I did see that too. That'll actually, I think the last time I Hate God played here was at the old Crowbar, or not Crowbar, Orpheum down in Ybor with, what's the, I always
So
do
they
this,
actually played last, if you remember, Ed, they played last November, I believe, in at the Orpheum, the new Orpheum, because we were
That's
actually
right.
Generic
That's
Christ was
right.
actually invited to play that show with them.
That's right. They did play. I'm thinking
yeah.
of the show with
But we were already booked.
that had like all the killer bands that we liked. I don't know why I always brain fart on, because they're bands that have other guys in them. They're like super group kind of bands. But yeah, no, they put on a great show, and I did my first cruise. Crowbar was on there, and I got to hang out with all those guys, Kurt and all those guys, and they're awesome. I mean, they're great guys.
Well, they're doing, so I guess the Tampa show, which is August 8th at the Brass Mug, will be, I Hate God will be the headliner of that show. And then they're also playing, because that's the first show of the tour, August 9th, they're actually playing in West Palm Beach at a place called Respectable Street. And Crowbar will be headlining that one. So those are the two Florida dates. And I remember seeing, so I Hate God, like we said, I know they played last November at the new Orpheum. And I remember seeing them at the old Orpheum probably, which is maybe what you're thinking of, probably like 3 years prior.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of the band that opened for Ringworm.
Was it Ringworm? I couldn't remember if it was Ringworm or
yeah, because Ringworm was killer, and that made me like, I was like, oh my god, I forgot, because I remember I had like a Ringworm CD, the early one. Somebody had given me the digipack, the ones that have like the cardboard, but when you open them up, they have all the cool shit inside. And I was like, man, and I remember putting it on and going, wow, these guys are fucking killer. Then I found out the dudes were in different bands, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, that explains it. But when they played that show with I Hate God, I was like, man, it was the whole lineup. I don't remember the other two bands, because I think it was 4 bands, but it was a great show at the old school Orpheum. I mean, the new Orpheum is killer. I know you haven't been there, but the old Orpheum, aside from parking, the actual venue was killer, except for when Creator played.
That was all in your monitors. That was
fucking bastards.
That was
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it should be a good show. I mean, that's probably one. I don't go out very often, venture out, but I will probably actually go to that show, unless I'm on tour or something.
Yeah, like I said, we were when they were there last November, and we had been asked if we were interested in playing the show. We definitely were, but we had already booked Swarmfest that me and you played that same November. So
well, I think you were coming in. I think it was a week before you were coming in.
Oh yeah, I was flying in a week after. You're 100% correct.
Because you said if we weren't doing Swarmfest, you would have come in like 2 weeks earlier so we could practice. But it is what it is. We still got to play, and it was awesome.
Yeah, so I did, but they're playing, obviously, like I said, August 8th will be their first show of that tour at the Brass Mug. I Hate God will be headlining, and anybody in West Palm Beach, August 9th at Respectable Street with Crowbar headlining. And I'm going to announce the other shows I have. Like I said, Ed, we got an email for you too, and then I'll do releases, and then, we can get the show rolling. So Necrogoblicon, Revocation of Sulfur, and Ex Mortis are playing a couple Florida dates, so I'm just going to put them all in one. They're actually playing, what is today? Tomorrow night they'll be playing, so this will be the 29th at the Abbey in Orlando, and then May 30th at Revolution in Fort Lauderdale, then May 31st at the Orpheum in Tampa Bay. So those are, like I said, Necrogoblicon, Revocation of Sulfur, and Ex Mortis. And those are the 3 Florida dates that'll all be taking place this week. The Court of Metal Fest, the 2-day festival, starts on June 6th. Doors at 4, $12 tickets. Precipice, Burn Forever, The Burial Ground, Consume the Wolf, Out of Darkness, and Marcus, the Carcass, and the Bloody Nuns. That'll be at the Brass Mug in Tampa, Florida, 1450 Skipper Road. See here, June 6th, Ed, one you were talking about last week. I don't know if you're going to any of this, but it was, I guess it's June 6th, then June 8th. Metallica, Pantera, Suicidal Tendencies. There's 2-day tickets. I didn't even check the price. I'm sure it's not cheap.
The upper deck can't seat James, even if you had binocular seats, are about $80 a piece.
Oh, I thought it'd be actually more even maybe, but because Saturday they're doing 3 exhibits over at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. Kirk has a collection, it's called. He has that going on, and so there's 3 exhibits that day. And Ed, speaking of Raymond James, you know what I thought of back when it was the old Sombrero, the show you were at, right? What was it, Monsters of Rock?
Monsters of Rock.
What was the line? It was Metallica.
It was.
They have that famous picture that you always see of like Metallica on top of the in the stands at the
Oh yeah,
big
yeah,
sombrero.
yeah. If you look in the little tour book from And Justice for All, you'll see fucking 4 dudes running in the background of that picture. Hello. That was us before security got us, because we got up there somehow in the top and nobody saw us. And we saw Metallica walk up and we're taking pictures and we're like, fuck it. We were going to go. And we got probably within 500 feet of them before some big fucking dude stepped out and was like, yeah, you're not supposed to be up here. And he's like, go ahead and look. He let us look for a few minutes because there was no cameras back then. And then it was like, all right, let's go. And he took us back to where we were supposed to be. But if you look in the little book, you'll see 4 fucking hooligans sprinting towards Metallica in the background.
Many moons ago, too. It's crazy how
1980. That was 87. That was before And Justice came out.
That's still see the picture though. I still see the photo,
Yeah.
And then also there's 2 more shows I have here. I don't know if you have any shows. The Hellhowler tour, I believe it is. June 12th, Casket Robbery, Autumn Lies Buried, MRSA, and Endorus. That's going to be at the Orpheum. That's June 12th. And then Pray for Blood and Gore tour, Withdrawn from Humanity, Sertragor, Voidrium, and then Piss on Christ. That's $10. Doors at $7. Show at $8. All ages. That's the Brass Mug. And Ed, do you have any shows at all? I didn't. Besides that, I didn't see much.
I saw nothing but the Crowbar show you announced. It's weird, isn't it? It's crazy that like usually summer is when bands start ramping up touring because it's not cold. But yeah, nothing. I saw nothing.
And you still don't. Do you have your Mexico date?
Don't
yet for Monstrosity?
I don't have nothing. I might as well not even be in the band because I get about as little info as possible.
So Ed, I have releases and I have an email. So should I do releases first?
Go ahead.
The email.
Do it. Do your releases.
Okay, I'll do releases.
I'm gonna take a nap. Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, I've been separating them though. Like I said, because we've been doing pretty much every week.
It's just amazing how, if you think about the fact that you're separating them and they're still like 400 a week. It's crazy.
Well, this week I think I have like 12, so I'm gonna try to get through these. And then we'll get to the guys from Nithe. They'll be on in about probably like 10 minutes. Okay, so first I got Sargeist from Finland, Flame Within the Flame, label World Terror Committee out of Germany. Sargeist formed in 99, first demo in 2001, features members of Horna, Nightbringer, Night Shall Drape Us, 13th Moon, Black Stench. Sargeist has put out a few demos, 7 splits, 3 EPs, and this will be the band's 6th full length. First heard them back from Rivet Rag days, Ed, back 2003 when we were dealing with Moribund Records, and I got a copy of Satanic Black Devotion. It's crazy how time has passed, but they have a new record coming out. Like I said, Flame Within Flame, May 28th on World Terror as the label. And it's band you actually we'll talk about in a second too, Rivers of Nile, Pennsylvania band, progressive death metal. This is going to be a self-titled record on Metal Blade Records, and band formed in 2009, first released an EP in 2010. The new record will be the 5th full length and a follow-up to the band's 2021 record, The Work. Ed, what album were they on tour for when you toured with them with Massacre when you were in Massacre in 2014, correct?
Correct. They were on the DTA tour, and I believe it was their first record. Either their first or their second. I'm not sure which one it was, but the lineup is completely. They've gone through. They're like Generic Christ. They've gone through some serious lineup changes. Like I know now the original singer who was on those records is gone, and the bass player took over all the vocals, I guess. So, yeah, it's different. They got clean singing now on some of their stuff. So,
did we play with them in Tampa? Were they on that bill?
DTTA. We opened that show because obviously we were the local band, and then they played, and then Massacre, OB, and then DTA.
Thought so.
Yep, but they opened the show throughout the whole tour, unless there was an opening band, which I don't remember if there was.
Well, their new album is out on May 30th on Metal Blade Records, so thought of you when I saw that. Execution out of France, thrash metal band. Camisole is the name of the record. Great Dane Records out of France. Execution formed in 1989. They put out a self-titled demo in 1990. The band has released 5 demos, 1 split, and 2 EPs. This will be the band's 4th full length. Has 8 tracks. So it'll be out May 29th. On Great Dane Records. Colt's Blood out of the UK, a doom sludge band. Title of the record is going to be Obscured in Nebulous Dusk. Transition Lost Records out of Pennsylvania is where it's coming out on. Colt's Blood formed in 2010. First demo titled Beyond the Lake of Madness. They put out members past and present of Conan, Iron Witch, Black Magician, and Cult of the Head. This would be the band's 3rd full length. Also put out 3 splits and a live album, and that was recorded in 2014 in Helsinki when they were doing shows with Horse Latitudes, which, we had Henry on here, obviously, from Horse Latitudes and Hooded Menace probably about a year ago now. This record will be out May 30th on Transition Lost Records. Graceless out of the Netherlands, a death doom metal band. The Icons of Ruins is the name of this one, on Listenable Records out of France. Graceless formed in 2016. The first release was 2017, called Shadowlands was the name of that album. Members past and present of Grand Supreme Blood Court, Nail Gun Massacre, Soul Burn, and We Perish. This will be Graceless's 4th full length. Icons of Ruin has 10 tracks and it's out May 30th on Listenable Records. Savaged from Spain, a speed metal band. The album's going to be called Rising on No Remorse Records out of Greece. Savage formed in 2021. Debut release was an EP in 2021 called The Knights of Metal. Rising will be the band's 2nd full length that have 9 tracks and will be out May 30th on No Remorse Records. Vader. We all know Vader. Humanality is the name of this record, or Humanility. It's beyond Nuclear Blast. Band was formed 42 years ago. Think about that. At 42 years ago. In 83, released the first demo in 88, which was Live in Decay. Vader's last full length was in 2020, Solitude of Madness. This will be out May 30th on Nuclear Blast. Funeral Baptism out of Argentina, a black metal band. In Solitude, Solitudine, I believe it's called. Loud Rage Music out of Romania is the label. Funeral Baptism formed in 2012. First release was 2013, an EP, Blasphemous Desires. This will be the band's follow-up to the 2017 album, The Venom of God. This release comes out on May 30th. Got a couple more, 2 more here. Dark Side Ritual out of Mexico. It's a tech death band. Chamber of Deathlessness is the name of the record. Concreto Records out of Mexico. The band's debut was a full-length titled Earthly Vulgarity that came out in 2017. They released an EP in 2018 and another full-length in 2020. This will be the band's 3rd full-length, and that one comes out May 30th. Last but not least, Hate World out of Italy, thrash metal band. Return to Earth is the name of this one. Punishment 18 Records out of Italy. Hate World formed in 2007. They put out a debut EP in 2010 titled Another Holocaust. Members past and present of Exterminator, Brain Dead, Manhunt, and a band called Pleasure. Return to Earth is the follow-up to the band's 2016 full-length Mass Deception. Comes out May 30th on Punishment 18 Records. That's what I have. Everybody who sends us releases, we appreciate it. We've been breaking them up a little bit, so we'll have more next week. There's always releases. That's one thing you can always. There's releases for every episode. And Ed, before we get to our guests, I'm gonna read you an email that was sent. I'm gonna have you answer this actually because you were in the Tampa Bay area during this time. I was there for some of it. This is from, let's see here, Ted from Ohio. And sorry on the delay of reading these. We just been doing shows left and right, and we're gonna do an episode where we read more of the emails that are sent to us and stuff. You can always email us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com. Let me see here. This is from Ted. Thanks for putting in the time you do with the Tampa Morgue. I lived in Seminole and Tampa back in the late 80s/90s. I relocated to Ohio and eventually started a family. In your opinion, what are some of the top music stores for equipment during that period? Looking forward to the next episode. As always, makes the day at work go by a little faster, and love the nostalgia. So Ed, and there's also another part to that question for you, which actually is directed towards you. So I'll have you answer that first. Some of the music stores, for equipment, you're an equipment guy. We always talk about it, that you used to visit.
Yeah. I mean, right in his backyard, if he was in Seminole, I bought my first Ampeg 810 at Seminole Music. I believe it was, or maybe it was my Ampeg head. Yeah, it was my SVT 4 Pro I bought at Seminole Music. Somehow somebody told me that they were in the store and they had one used or something, so I drove out there and got it. Great amp. Green Shift is actually the place used to be on Nebraska. They used to do comic books. Half the store was comics. The other half was music stuff. That's where I got my first 810. He gave me a great deal on it. The owner was just a great guy. They moved, but they don't do music stuff. They only do comic books now. But they were a big thing for. He actually lived right. They were located right across the street from where Mike Browning lived. Mike Browning could walk to Green Shift from his house. Thoroughbred Music was the number one place to go in Tampa in the 80s. It was literally on, like, where I live now. It was 5 minutes from my house, and there were several guys there that, if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have been able to get gear, because they gave me Russell Farrow, rest in peace. He just died this last year. He's best friends with Mark Prater. I remember my dad broke my Cort Flying V guitar. He opened my bedroom door and the cord got caught, and it was a neck through body, and he snapped the neck off.
Oh.
And I found out it was like a very expensive guitar. I bought it for like $50 and found out it was like worth a lot of money. So my dad was a golf club maker. He made golf clubs and sold them. He had a golf store. He fixed it. And Russell, I took it up to that store and told him it was fucking damaged. And he was like, I don't see nothing, bro. And he gave me $400 trade-in for the guitar so I could get the guitar I wanted. So,
Nice.
so Thoroughbred Music was probably one. Paragon was another. But if you were into PV or, needed sound equipment, that's kind of where you went, was Paragon Music. Trying to think. I think, because Thoroughbred wound up turning into Sam Ash. So when Sam Ash bought out Thoroughbred, you've heard of Sam Ash. And then there was another one, which is now Guitar Center, which was called Mars Music. And that was a huge one. Mars used to be everywhere. Now they're called Guitar Center. Really, there was maybe Aardvarks. Actually, let me rephrase that. Aardvarks over in Armenia is where I bought my BC Rich that got stolen on the Diabolic tour. They custom ordered it through BC Rich, and I remember pitching a fit because I waited 9 months for that guitar. And they told me that Kerry King and Twiggy Ramirez came before me because they were superstars. So I demanded a refund on my money because I paid $1,000. This is, we're talking 98, 99. I mean, $1,000 was a lot of money back then. Yeah. And the actual owner from BC Rich called me and told me they were going to overnight it and give me a case and a bunch of extra shit for my problems. But Aardvarks, and trying to think, that's pretty much what I remember shopping are those stores. But there were probably some more mom and pop ones that I'm forgetting that I've probably been into. But, the Green Shifts, the Aardvark, and Seminole Music, stores like that were the smaller, not big chain stores. So that's what I remember.
Well, you mentioned Diabolic, and that was a part of the question at the PS. Ed, what memories do you have of writing and recording the Supreme Evil record in '98? And what is your favorite track off of that?
Wow. Well, the record was kind of halfway written when I joined the band. They were already finished with, they had just finished doing City of the Dead. And, I had to go in because Rut, the bass player, I don't know what happened, but there were some parts I had to go in and fix and re-record. So we were in the middle of I was learning those songs and we were writing new songs. I didn't write anything on that record. That was all Brian and Antar, and I'm sure Paul wrote something. I know he wrote lyrics for sure. Favorite song on that record? Wow. That's probably the song Supreme Evil. Because when I took over vocals and played and sang, that was probably one of my favorite songs to do live from that record. because it's just got a slow, heavy groove to it, which, a lot of their stuff was just all out fucking speed. So yeah, that's probably my favorite song, which is crazy because I went to show Bryce the record because he's never heard it. It's not even on Spotify. I don't know why. Every other record's on there, but Supreme Evil is not on Spotify.
I didn't even know that. Now,
yeah, no, I didn't either until yesterday. Actually, it was yesterday, because for some reason that the word diabolic has been coming up a lot lately. Which it's funny because obviously Lee just gave me, or Antar just gave me
the Infinity through
the
Purification.
Infinity record, met up and gave me that, which was awesome. And ever since that day, it seems like the word diabolic has just been continually thrown around, and it's just funny.
Well, there you go, Ohio Ted, and we appreciate you writing us. And we do have other emails that we will, like I said, me and Ed are going to try to figure out a schedule a little bit and do a solo episode, and we'll read some of those. I got this one a while ago, so I wanted to, get it to you, Ed, because I figured you were more of an expert on this since I was in New Jersey for part of that time period. So,
well, and you didn't really play much gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you didn't probably frequent the stores like we did.
I think the last time I'm Seminole Music, the last time I was there was taking my nephew for drum lessons, if you remember.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, anybody who writes us, you can write us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com. And, you can always check us out on Instagram. That's the best place to find out information for episodes. We have a bunch of past episodes you can listen to. We'll got a couple of them. You can listen to Vincent Crowley from Acheron we interviewed, Pat from Hellwitch, Chris from Autopsy, the guys from, you name it, right? I saw actually, Witch Trap was a Maryland Death Fest. We had those guys on from Columbia, great band. We had Ern from Finland.
There were several bands. Dark
Funeral, yeah, we had them on the show. We had Lord Arm on. We had Archangel on a couple weeks ago. We had Ritual Butcher, Snowy Shaw, the guy, who else the hell do we have? We've had so many episodes now. We've had Rob play with Destroyer 666 and Lucifericon on. Jamie from Brodequin. David Howard Thornton, who played Art the Clown in the Terrifier films we had on. We had the guys from Heimland, another Norwegian band, was on a couple weeks ago also.
Yerno from Ern.
Yeah, Yerno from Ern. We've had Jeff Mantis from Venom, King Fally from Deceased, and the list goes on and on and on. And you can find out all the past guests if you go to the Instagram page. And Ed, so we have, I guess we're going to get the guys from the band on now, right? I think. Is there anything else you could think of?
No, sir. We'll save all our banter for when we do a solo show.
So let's get Alex and Henrik all set up, and we're actually going to play a track from Nithe. We're going to play Chains of the Abyss from the Funeral Death EP that's coming out on Caligari Records this week. And we're going to play that. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Alex and Henrik of Nithe. And that was Chains of the Abyss off the Funeral Death EP that comes out on Caligari Records Friday, I believe. How you guys doing, man?
Doing good.
Doing all right, yeah.
How you doing?
Good, man. We appreciate you guys joining us. Like I was telling you guys before we started recording, I wasn't familiar with the band. I was talking to the owner of Caligari Records, and he sent me over, a couple of the songs, man. And I got to say, it's a killer EP. So I actually talked to Henrik and said, "Hey, man, why don't you guys come on?" And
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Checking out, you got some pretty decent guests on here earlier, so I'm not entirely sure what we're doing here, but we appreciate being invited, and it's a great honor.
Yeah, no, that's one thing this show does do for us. Me and Ed were just talking about this before you guys actually came on. It introduces us to new bands because, first of all, you guys what? So Henrik, you're 24?
I'm 24, yeah.
And Alex, you're what? 35?
14.
14? There you go, 14. So there's definitely an age difference here. So Alex is more on our side of the age difference. When so we're in our 40s, some of us, Ed. And,
get out of here.
It's cool getting turned on to new bands because that's one thing this podcast does do, the show for us, is it makes us, kind of learn about new acts. So heard the EP, man, it's totally killer. I said, hey, let me see if these guys will come on. And are you guys both born in the same town?
Yeah. Christian Sand.
I think so.
Nice.
And the Norwegian equivalent to Miami, I suppose. At least that's how they're trying to brand it.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Growing up there, is it a big musical place? Are you guys surrounded by music growing up?
No.
Not at all. Well, you're surrounded by music, but the music scene here is ass.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was your parents into music and stuff?
Alex, you can start.
I suppose I grew up during what was arguably the worst period for heavy metal, like the late 90s, early 2000s. So I would get into, at first punk, really, like NoFX and Bad Religion and stuff, because I'd been to skateboarding and snowboarding. I couldn't really skate though, but I loved the music. And I don't know, from there, somehow ended up listening to Metallica, and that was the one that stuck with me. But I've never really been surrounded by any form of sort of cultural peers. It's very few of them, especially at my age.
What about you, Henrik?
Yeah, no, my dad introduced me to his type of rock and roll and music growing up, like Pink Floyd and ZZ Top and Talking Heads. So I was like, this is cool. And just randomly one day when I was like 12 or 13, we were driving to my cabin, and this band, System of a Down, I think, was on the radio, and I was like, this is kind of like fast, and what's this? And then I went home and found it on YouTube, and it was like Metallica and Slipknot, and oh my god! And all of a sudden, there's Dying Fetus and Death, so it stumbled upon some great music.
What were some of the first? What's the first show you guys went to, each of you? This is always a question that some people don't want to answer, I think.
Yeah.
It was this Norwegian band, actually. First proper show, I think, this Norwegian band called the Cum Shots, which has this very controversial gig at a thing called Quark Festival here in Kristiansand. Norwegian people might have heard, or at least remember, the controversy surrounding that gig. But long story short, there were people fucking on stage, and they're like kids on there.
We had a cum shot in Tampa too, didn't we? Had cum shot there, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, we had a band a Tampa band like that too, man. And Henrik, what about you? I have a feeling it's I see the smirk.
Yeah, it's a band I'm not a huge fan of anymore, but it was Dream Theater at Hilden, like the kind of opera house or whatever here in Kristiansand. I got them in the tickets and Christmas present in like 2016 or something. I don't know. Yeah, but I was still like starstruck to see like a celebrity like John Petrucci on the stage opening the gig, and I was like, oh no way! Like these type of guys they're real. Yeah.
Nice. And Alex, when did you first pick up was it bass or guitar first for you?
I think I actually started out with bass, but I've never been really good at any of them. But I have to sort of learn how to play guitar after a while, because I didn't know anyone who could do it, and so it's this sort of it sounds a bit pretentious, I suppose, but there's this drive to create riffs and stuff. When you're as deep in heavy metal as I am, I think there's sort of a creative spark that just has to be fulfilled in some way. So I think I started guitar around 15 or something like that, and mostly just been playing by myself. Nithe is sort of the proper first band that I've actually been in, like a 4-piece.
Yeah, like live. You had a band, or like
I've done like minor stuff and sort of side projects here and there, but like regular over a longer period of time, I suppose Nithe is my first proper band, I'd say. Yeah.
So you're self-taught too?
Oh, absolutely. Thought in like the worst meaning. And it's not my teaching.
And Henrik, with you, do you play any instruments, or is that, no. But something about you I didn't. So you're into film.
Yeah.
So what do you write scripts and stuff?
Yeah, I love to. I do almost everything, but like writing scripts and directing is the best. And I'm Friday. I'm graduating. So.
Oh shit! Congratulations.
That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And Alex, you also do band logo design?
Oh yeah, I've been doing some graphic design sort of stuff for a while, and mostly for friends and people who ask me to do logo for them. But I do have a background in sort of media and communication stuff, so I've always found that part of like the aesthetic part of heavy metal to be not underrated, but I mean. Probably more important than most people tend to think of.
You were in a 2-piece band, right? Conflagration?
Oh yeah, Conflagration. Yeah, that one. I mean, like 2-piece, and we tried putting more people together and doing stuff, but never really worked out. Mostly because we're have a tendency to just drink beer and listen to heavy metal instead of actually jamming whenever we were supposed to do that. And also, there's like the geographical distance aspect of it as well. This was with a guy called Kato, who you might know from bands like Death Hammer. Yeah, right, represent
Death Hammer.
Death Hammer and stuff. So he was always loads busy with other bands. I'm not putting the blame on him in any way whatsoever. But
is that Sadomancer? You guys?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Sadomancer.
He also did a lead guitar on the Night of the Ghoul. Actually,
yeah, I was going to say that. We're going to play that track tonight, actually.
So he would do the bass, drums, and the lead guitars because I couldn't be bothered.
You guys formed what? So you were like 18 and 19 because that was what 2008. You put that together.
Yeah, I suppose in some sense we still do exist, but we're not really active and haven't been for a while. But I would like to do like another demo or an EP or perhaps even an album someday at least. We do have the material for it.
Yeah, because you guys did what? So 2011, you guys did a demo, and then you guys did an EP in 2016?
Yeah, sounds right. It's quite long ago, but yeah. We did have a lot of other stuff recorded, but it never really came to fruition and was never released on anything.
And what about, so is this pre the band called Torture Tactics? Was that another band you were involved with?
Yeah, that was just sort of a short stint with friends. I would like write loads of sort of Terrorizer, early Napalm Death riffs, and there's this guy I knew that was a brilliant guitarist, Ivan Mitogui, and he was starting out just try to play the drums, and that's sort of how that project came to be. A guy tried to learn how to play the drums, and I would just sort of rip off Terrorizer and Napalm Death stuff and Repulsion as well.
So is that done now? It's not active anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What did you guys start getting into like more extreme bands, and how much is like the old Norwegian scene? Is that any influence for you guys? Some of like the Gorgoroths and stuff?
For Nithe?
Yeah. Or for you guys in general, like when do you each start getting into like, we all go from like, we all start at one, like, you're talking about like Alex, because I liked a lot of the old punk stuff, the Dwarves, the Descendants and all that stuff. And, of course, you go into metal and the Slayers and the Merciful Fates and stuff like that. When was each of your changeovers into you start getting into more extreme stuff?
I would actually say I got into bands like Satyricon and Darkthrone and to some extent, like Tampa Morgue and the more mainstream, I suppose you could say, bands before I got into thrash at all, because it was pretty much everywhere in Norway during the mid 2000s. And at some point it became really popular and mainstream, and they would play like these huge mainstream crowds and everything. And at that point, I fucking cut all ties. I gave a bunch of my records to a friend of mine because I just didn't want to be associated with it anymore. And then I just like exclusively would listen to thrash bands and early death metal stuff in this pretentious.
Were you a fan of any of the?
Protest.
Were you a fan of any of the old Florida metal at all?
Oh, absolutely. Still a big fan.
What were some of the bands, like what, the Morbid Angels, Deicides and stuff?
Well, Death would be the obvious one, I suppose. Yeah, but I mean, I think Morbid Angels still has a huge influence in how I play guitar to some extent, because it's all really weird and doesn't really make sense. So most of the bands I played in have always tried to emulate that Trey Asathoth style in some regard or another. I don't really succeed doing it, but at least I keep trying. So Morbid Angel, huge influence, and still is, absolutely.
And Henrik, what about you? When did you go over from the Dream Theaters into the next?
I guess it really started in when I was like 15 or 16. And I mentioned before, I was on YouTube. I discovered music on YouTube, and Dying Fetus and Death were they were on the recommended page, like on the side. And I was like, oh shit, is this legal? And I was like genuinely scared of my parents finding out. But yeah, from there on, I just, it was a rabbit hole of the Florida scene, like the massacres and stuff. And
except for that Back Beyond record, right? That one guy sang on.
Yeah, this guy.
Sorry, Ed. I had a...
Yeah, but of course, I love that stuff. And of course, watch all of these Norwegian black metal documentaries. And I was like, holy shit, these things happen in Norway. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And yeah, so kind of like Alex, all over the place. Yeah, on the extreme music side.
And your first band was with you and Axel, if I'm saying that right. That was 2017. You guys did Damnation with drummer Liam Young.
Yeah, Damnation. That's a weird kind of band. We're like 16 or 17, and we're like everyone had different music tastes, and we ended up like trying to imitate Gojira, and a mixture of Gojira and Morbid Angel, and I don't know. It's a weird mixture of stuff. That's not going on anymore.
You guys did what 5-song EP in 2019. Did you guys do any shows? Was that your first band you ever performed with, or?
Yeah, I was when I was in 10th grade. I was like, I love Pantera, and I love these kind of bands. I want to be in a band. And I sang in front of the mirror and, destroyed my throat, and was like, oh, fuck this. Let's join a band. And I searched on Facebook. There's a Norwegian page called Musico, Søker Musico, musicians searching for musicians.
Like a Craigslist thing.
Yeah, basically. And there was a local band called Damnation. And I was like, hey, do you need a vocalist? And they were like, yeah. So yeah, I joined the band and wrote a couple of songs and played some gigs, mostly local.
Sounded fucking great live.
Thanks.
Actually saw them a few times, at least once.
Where did you guys record the demo? Was that your first time in a studio, or I know you guys recorded your practice space too? But now
that was where now.
No, but back with that time, did you guys go to an actual studio for that?
No. With Damnation, we recorded in our practice space at Tinaya with the help from a guy called Bendik Hildebrandt.
why did that band end? Was it just, because I know now we're going to move over to the, the current project now, but what was the end of Damnation?
It was the Damnation. It was, hey, no, we just got kind of split up. The drummer, Liam, he ventured into like a blues kind of phase. And yeah, it was just like, yeah, we got to form a new cool band. And me and Axel, we have a very similar music taste, and was like, yeah, we have to form something cool.
You guys knew Aleksander, so you guys knew him from prior?
Yeah, a couple of parties and stuff, and we're like, we have to find a drummer and a guitarist who have similar tastes as us and are like very cool, obviously, like Alex and Stian. So yeah, I think we just messaged Alex, and he was like, yeah. It was very simple.
Who decided on the name Nithe?
I think that was a sort of collaborative bit, but I do believe I was the one who Googled my way.
I think so.
Because it's a bit unusual, I suppose. But I mean, we all could agree that it's really fucking difficult to come up with a good band name these days, which isn't taken. There's like too many of them, and I always preferred being in bands that only has one name instead of like 3 or 4 fucking words in there. It's too much. Also, way easier to do the logo as well.
Yeah, it's very short, but it's very difficult to say. No one can say it. No one can pronounce it.
I'm telling you, man. It's
very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
What? So it's like ill will, right? Despise is the definition of that word, though.
Yeah, it's essentially. I mean, we've tried to include the definition of it in at least on like Bandcamp releases and stuff. But yeah, ill will. It's still being used to some extent in Norwegian. Also, I believe in English you still use the word nitheful, but you dropped in just Nithe part of it. And
you did the logo for that, Aleksander?
Yeah.
Okay.
Initially, just a sketch, and it's turned out to be the main thing.
But when you guys start working on the first demo, which is Cemetery Fever, the early rehearsals, how long does it take you guys to get the material together for that?
Fuck knows, man. I can't remember, but I think it went by pretty fast. And
yeah, I think we just had a couple of, not just a couple, but several practices and just jammed. And then we went into the studio. And a fun fact, I don't think there's a lot of people who know this, but we actually recorded an album. But the files got lost.
Oh shit!
Yeah, the hard drive would crash and stuff.
How many tracks?
It was like 7 or 8 tracks, maybe.
Yeah, we ended up just using the best ones on the Night of the Ghoul EP, which I'm much more happy about because.
No, wait. Yeah, true, yeah.
And you guys, when's your guys' first official show?
It was I remembered the date, 3rd of December, 2022, with a local Oslo Christian sand band, like punk band called the Dødfødt.
And for you, Alex, was your first actual live gig?
Oh no, I've done live gigs before. Can't remember when. As usual, but yeah, I've done a few live shows before. The first one with Nithe. Yeah, I've done Torture Tactics. Conflagration, never done live stuff.
And who handles the lyrics in the band?
Usually it's me, but now I was in a state of chaos because I was doing my bachelor film. So I was like, Alex, can you write? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah, I could do it.
That was great.
Short amount of time as well. But...
Yeah, but that was fantastic. Thanks.
And Henrik, are you gonna? So now that you do film and stuff, are you gonna Is there gonna do any videos or anything? Because you can actually handle all this now.
Like music videos for Nithe? I don't know. Maybe. We haven't really talked about it, but it's not It's not an impossibility, if that's a word. But it would have to be like very like horror movie, like not too polished.
Yeah, it's like lyrically, what are your guys' themes?
Fucking
Fucking the usual.
misanthropy and horror and yeah.
I usually write lyrics based on movies I've seen.
Yeah,
Or books I've read.
I've written about Skyrim and Elden Ring as well, actually. Like
the video game lyrics.
Yeah, but like the most gruesome and like haunting stuff. I love that shit.
When you guys first started too, I had read that it was you guys were kind of going for the whole black metal thing, but kind of the influences there's so much range in the influences that it didn't turn out exactly like you guys had first planned.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe me and Axel wanted to start like an outright black metal band, but with Alex,
I was not under the impression of that because I was the last person to join the band as well, and they would send me these rehearsal recordings, and I wasn't really sure what sort of genre they were going for, and as soon as we started jamming and get along and stuff, it became evident that these people were like, they had not vastly different ideas, but one guy would try to do death metal stuff, the other guy would try to do black metal stuff.
Yeah,
and I would come in and I would like sort of combine those, I guess, and just try to make something that sounds a bit like late 80s death thrash, I call it, which was a time where these genres weren't as clearly defined and able to be categorizing them as easy as you can these days. So I think that was like the main, common thing. It's supposed to sound primitive and raw and not very polished and not modern, I suppose, is the thing. And we ended up sounding happy with that. And I think I have no idea what genre we're really playing. So whenever people ask us, just generally say fucking death thrash,
I think even listening to, because I've listened to all the releases that you guys have done, and I think you can hear it even change up to now with the release that's coming out on Friday. You could have, it's almost sound like with the Funeral Death release, which I'll even talk about, you can even, the song lengths are even different compared to the prior release to that.
Yeah.
But you can even hear the band kind of evolve through the 3 releases you guys have, I think. Even when I hear Funeral Death now, it sounds like, I don't know how you'd put it, but you guys are on the same page more than like, with those 4 tracks. But because you guys recorded the 4-song demo you guys did in 2021, you recorded that at the rehearsal room that you've been using with Damnation since 2017.
True. Yeah.
And you guys did everything.
Sorry, I have to
interject. What was that? What was that, Tony?
Oh, but you guys handled everything in house, right? The mixing and all that.
Yeah. Axel has been the producer with mixing and mastering, except for Night of the Ghoul, which was done by Trond Mjøen from bands like Euroboys and other like big punk bands from Norway.
Now, Alex, you did the cover of the sketch on that, which we talked about already on that demo.
I just did the logo. The actual album art is done by a good friend of ours called Johannes.
Yeah, on Night of the Ghoul and Funeral Death, Johannes Birkeland.
The Night of the Ghoul, which we're actually going to play that track here in a few minutes also. So this stuff's coming out, your first demo and stuff. This is right done during COVID time, right? So, I mean, this is pretty much when all this is going on. We have, unfortunately on this show, every band runs into that period of time. And, so you guys, how much did that interfere with the band? Because I know there was 3 years between the first demo, right, and the next release, the EP.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the main thing was that we weren't able to play gigs. We actually started up during COVID, didn't we?
Yeah. But I don't think it was a huge issue. Well, the COVID was a huge issue, but it wasn't for us. We didn't notice it as much as a band because we recorded this demo, which was done, at our rehearsing space, and there was no problem with that at all. And then we recorded another which ended up, like as we said, being destroyed. So we were busy like recording and stuff.
So that was after the first demo. You guys lost that album. So you guys did the demo and then recorded an album and lost that whole thing right afterwards.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I think so. Yeah,
essentially what ended up being the 4 tracks, I think, on Night of the Ghoul.
Yeah,
those were the best ones.
And out of COVID, what's the first show you guys did back? Because I know you guys did. We had actually the guys from Heimland on a couple weeks ago. You guys played with Horrifier, Discord. What are some of the bands you guys are jamming with?
Actually, we didn't get to play that gig actually.
No,
got canceled.
The fucking promoter wouldn't, pay us for travel expenses and stuff. So we
he butchered that job. That was terrible.
Aberration you guys played with, is that show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a
killer band.
Gig,
oh, that was a sick gig
with
Impugner and Horrifier. Yeah, man.
Nice. Yeah, and then Horrifier, us, Impugner, and Aberration. Excellent fucking lineup there.
Oh, it was sick.
Yeah, what are some bands that you guys would recommend that people probably don't know about from your area?
Well, there's not much from our area, but in Norway in general, I suppose you should check out Pyromania. Out of, we do share a drummer, so we're a bit biased, but Pyromania, and you got, of course, Aberration is fucking excellent. I suppose you've heard of like Necromantian and Deathhammer and Obliteration and all those. Again, Impugner, or like it's spelled Impugner, but they would beat shit out of you if you mispronounce it. And you got a new band released a demo like just last week, I think, called Hellish Force, which is like really good evil sounding speed thrash metal.
From Norway?
Yeah, I think all members are like Chilean or Spanish or something, but I mean they're based in Oslo. Yeah.
Nice.
How are the venues?
I could go on.
You guys have decent venues and stuff?
I like to think so. We never played outside the country, so don't really have much of a reason to compare it to. But I'm happy.
Yeah, in Kristiansand we have like the only place that will book like bands like us is Vaktbua. It's just like a tiny little, like almost a cabin with maximum capacity is like 70 people. Then people are standing like fish in a barrel, and that's just sick. We love Vaktbua.
It's an old guardsman house.
That was where we played our first gig actually.
Nice. We're gonna play Night of the Ghoul now off what was a 2024 release. So this was recorded in 2023 actually though.
Think so, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna play.
You probably know as well as we do.
We're gonna play Night of the Ghoul. We'll be right back with Alex and Henrik on the Tampa Morgue after this track.
Of the darkest creature, summoning from the darkness, ritual, evil acts, taste the witch, will spell out hellbound, trapped in the woods, and I don't think
And show-wise, you guys played a festival, right? 2024. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, Alex. I think you mentioned it earlier before we started recording. Hellborn Metal Fest.
Hellbotn. There's a T in there. Yeah, it's a place called Kolbotn, and it's a bit of a play on words with festival name. That was an excellent festival as well. Or we didn't really play the festival itself. We played the kickoff gig, which I think is even better because you get a free ticket and enjoy the festival as you would just member of the audience, which is far better than actually playing. That was sick as well. We played with a Swedish band called Tyrann. You might have heard of. They've been blowing up lately with members from like Enforcer and stuff. That was excellent as well. I think it was one of the few shows they've done up until that point, at least outside of Sweden.
Yeah, it was sick.
That was absolutely sick.
We're going to talk about the Funeral Death that comes out on. People are listening to this; it'll come out Friday on tape from Caligari Records out of Tampa. First of all, how do you get involved with Caligari?
He just or Caligari just messaged us on Instagram, and we were like, "Yeah, sure." Very simple. We're very simple guys, and it was easy as that.
You guys got 4 tracks on this, and one thing I mentioned earlier, as I noticed, was your prior from Night of the Ghoul EP tracks range from about 6 minutes, right? Pretty much like 5 or 6 minutes, actually, even maybe more. And on this one, everything is like I think in the 4-minute range. Was that done on intentional, or did you guys start cutting some of the? I don't know if you call it cutting the fat or not, or saying it's.
Not really. I think it's just a result of the entire thing being a bit rushed. We recorded everything really fast during after Christmas when we were all together in the same time. And we didn't really plan on recording anything during that time. So we just took sort of the most primitive and simplest songs. So we were ensured that we would get it in as few takes as possible. Because I can't fucking stand recording and being in the studio for longer periods of time. So it's pretty much a result of a less is more mentality, and it all been done very fast.
Did you guys record this in a rehearsal room, or did you guys actually go to the studio for this one?
No, this is spread all fucking over.
Yeah, this is a mixture.
Did the drums at rehearsal space in a place called Lyngdal, and I did the guitars in my own house. And the vocals, I wasn't around for the vocals even.
Yeah, the vocals was done at a friend's studio at Odderøya here in Kristiansand.
Nice. Yeah. You guys did four songs on that, and I guess Alex, you did the cover art for that.
No, again, I just did a logo. It's a good friend of ours called Johannes, which has done the artwork on both this one and the previous release. So cool. We met him at the party, and we just asked him if he could do a cool drawing for a new demo. And he said, "Yeah, I got this cool sketch of just imagining like a priest being peeled as one would a shrimp." And the next day he would send it over, and it's fucking excellent. And
yeah, he's sick. He's an amazing artist. He's done the artwork for Pyromania as well.
Now, have you started? First of all, what's the exact lineup of the band? I know there's 4 of you guys who have been in the band together since the beginning. Introduce the bandmates.
Yeah, well, sorry, you go ahead.
No, yeah, it's me, Henrik. I do vocals, and then there's obviously you, Alex. What do you play?
I play the shitar.
Yeah, and there's Axel on the bass, and Stian plays drums.
Now, have you guys started writing material for the next release, or are you guys already thinking ahead, or is it not even something that's crossed your guys' minds?
Oh, we got loads of material. We don't really rehearse all that often. Unfortunately, we end up rehearsing a few times before we got a gig going. So that's entirely on us, I suppose. But we do have material for at least an album if we like.
Yeah. People have been saying they want us to record an album.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you guys? I didn't know if you guys were intentionally doing EPs or just short, 4 songs, or if you guys were actually going to do a full length. Because I know the previous 3 are you guys haven't done a full length yet. But then you explained to us that you guys did do one and it got destroyed.
I reckon it has to be like a band decision if we're going to do an album. But if it were entirely up to me, I would just continue doing demos for the fucking rest of my life. So much easier.
But as Alex say, we're if it happens, it happens. We have a lot of material already, and a couple of cool songs that were lost in the album Screw Up. So maybe we'll re-record some of those. I don't know. There's one song called "Unholy Funeral Rites," which is on a bonus track on the previous cassette or tape we released. Actually,
yeah, it's on the European release, I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes to America soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
You guys are playing Oslo Death Fest. When is that? I know it's 2025, but is that what month is that?
It's late November.
Late November, yeah.
November 28th, I think.
And are you guys looking to do more festivals and shows, or obviously you're in the film world too, so I know you guys have probably got your own stuff going on outside of the band. But what is the overall goal? Is it to get on some of the festivals, and is this the only show you guys have booked for this year so far?
I mean, as I said, we're pretty simple band. We're not aiming for the stars. I think we're just want to drink beer and play cool shows. But of course, me and Alex live in the same town, but Stian lives in Lyngdal, which is an hour or so west from here, and Axel lives in Oslo. So we don't have the time to join up and rehearse and practice and stuff.
Playing festivals are cool.
Yeah.
If there's other bands that I'm eager to see.
Yeah, of course.
I'd love to fucking book us, man. We'll come.
Yeah,
so make sure you're booking other cool bands as well.
Of course, we want to play cool gigs and have a great time, basically. So yeah.
Nice. Do you guys have merch and stuff, or anybody who wants to find like the Bandcamp or any of those, usual places?
Yeah. We're selling shirts on Bandcamp, and now obviously tapes are coming out. I think we're slowly planning ahead of having some long sleeves, but yeah, we'll see.
Nice. And Alex, you more of a bass guy or a guitar guy?
Well, I do play the guitar, but I think I sort of it's like a reverse Lemmy situation, right? I'll play the guitar as I would play a bass. Stupid, simple riffs, nothing too fancy. So yeah, I can play both of them, I suppose, but the guitar makes more noise, so I like the guitar better.
Nice, man. You guys got any other projects, or just this pretty much where it's at right now?
Yeah, for the time being, at least for my part, at least this is more than enough for the time being.
Yeah, I sing in another band called the Son of a Shotgun. It's a band led by Ivan Mitokuguich and other members from Blood Red Throne, like Stian Gunnarsson and Kristoffer Lunden. It's also a weird mixture of things, like very Pantera stoner tech death, if you can call it that.
Oh man, well, like I said, you guys have the new EP coming out this week on physical format through Caligari. Heard it. It's good stuff, man. So I definitely want to get you guys on the show.
Thanks, man.
We're actually going to play on the way out of here. Is there anything else you guys have coming up that you want to mention, or anything that you could think of?
Not really, man. I just fucking thank you to Caligari Records for putting it out and getting a US release. It's fucking cool, man.
Cool, man. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll keep in touch and stuff. We're actually going to play Mother of Woe. Yeah, what is that? What is the idea behind this song?
I know it's like the primordial ooze is the weird condition that the earth was in order for life to be created, and so it sounds a bit pretentious now saying it out loud, but it's about the idea of all life being fucking awful and this conditions being the mother of awfulness and everything being bad in the world. And
It's pretty relevant, these days.
Very.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you guys for coming to hang out with us, man. We'll say goodbye to you guys when we're playing the song, but again, dudes, killer EP, man. Good luck in the future and stuff, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Oh, definitely, man. We're gonna play the song now off of the Funeral Death EP that's coming out on Caligari Records, actually on Friday, which will be the 30th of May for those listening in the future. And man, we appreciate you guys coming on. We'll say goodbye to you guys in a minute. Everybody else, this is Primordial, Ooze, Mother of Woe, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with me and Ed after this track.
From
That was Nithe off the Funeral Death EP that comes out on Caligari Records on Friday or the 30th. And we want to thank the guys for joining us and hanging out on the Tampa Morgue. Ed, what's up? Episode number 92 in the books.
Man, we're getting closer to the big 100. It's crazy. I was telling my wife the other day, if you would have told me that me and some schlep that I play in bands with, we're going to get on here and do any type of whatever this is and, have some success at it, and have fun and get 100 shows almost done, I would have been like, I'm going to quit before the fucking 5th show, probably.
And the fact that we're basically doing it every week, which I mean, I'm not saying, as I always say, we may miss a week once in a while, but we're pretty much money.
Really, it's only when we travel. Because, when you were here, we weren't sure how we were going to be able to do it. And we still did a show while you were here with half the power out in a piece of shit Airbnb you were in. And we still knocked out that show. I mean, yeah, we, I don't know, man. It's before I remember in the early days, we were sending out messages to people and trying to get them on. And it was like, hey, I might have this guy coming on. I might have this guy. Now, all of a sudden, it's and it's not even like, it sounds funny, but the other night you called me at 6:30 at night, my time, which is 1:00 in the morning for you. And I'm like, what? Who's coming on? Because I know you're calling for a reason.
If I call odd hours, there's definitely
because usually you hit me up. I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm at the gym, so usually 6, 7. Because that's about what, 1:00 your time, 1, 2. That's before you get your kids, so you're home alone, and that's usually when you hit me up before your daddy, and we talk for a while. And when I see you call later or at a weird time, even on a weekend when I know you're supposed to be the family man, I know it's because you hooked a fish and they're coming on.
Well, this one was like a last minute,
you hit me up, literally, you messaged me and said, hey, are you available 8 or 9 your time on Wednesday? And that was Monday. That was Memorial Day, I think it was, or Sunday night or something like that. And I was like, the cool thing about this is owning my own company and doing my own thing. I'm able to do this because if I had a job, it would be a lot more difficult to do this consistently. We'd have to really work with people to make it work. And I think that
me being in Europe helps a lot with these, because if I was in the States, dude, if I was in the States, I don't know if I'd be able to meet all these times, but now being in Europe, I can always kind of relate with the European bands that come on, and you like to get up early as hell, so it works out perfect. Most guys would not want to get up and do shows early as hell. You're always cool about it.
It's just like working out now. I realize that if you get it done, it's done. You're done. You got your whole day. Like before, I mean, when I was like tired, I would like go, all right, it's 1:00. I need to go take a fucking nap before my wife gets home because I know she's not going to let me lay down and she's going to fucking be noisy and do everything she can to keep me from sleeping. And now, like being up at 4 a.m, and I'm thinking to myself, here it is, 2:00, and I'm like, man, I've been up for how many hours now, and I'm not even tired. Like now,
you're up early as hell, man. Like
it's become routine, like real routine for me. Just to like yesterday, Bryce didn't get up. I sat on the couch, and I'm like, you motherfucker, and I went back to bed. And I sat here and he messaged me and said, hey, let's go later. And in my head, I'm like, bro, I hate going after work. Not because there's too many people. I don't want to work out late. You know what I mean?
Circus at my place. If you go in the afternoon, I mean.
So yesterday I said, fuck it, dude. At 9:30, I went myself. And then when he got home, he's like, did you go to the gym? And I went, yeah. He goes, so you're not going? I'm like, no, let's go. I went twice yesterday. I just did cardio last night. I just did cardio while he worked out. So for me, I even told my wife the same thing. She hasn't gone to the gym in months. She pays for this fucking membership at a shitty ass crowded gym. I said, if you want to start going after work, I'll go with you and just do cardio. Like I'll go with you to make sure you go, to get you to go, because you don't want to go by yourself. I'll go with you and we'll just do cardio. I'll do cardio. You can do whatever you want. But I think she just doesn't want to go in there by herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because EOS has a movie room where they play a movie on a giant screen, and they have treadmills, ellipticals, steppers, and you could go in there and watch the movie while you're doing cardio, which is pretty cool. It's a good concept. That's what she does to warm up. And I'm like, I'll put my headphones in. I don't even need to watch the movie. You know, I'll just go there with you. And
I'm usually at the gym. I'm usually preparing for episodes, like checking out, you know, listening, especially if it's newer bands and stuff, you know. So it's because, you know,
if there's nothing new on Spotify, I'm listening to podcasts at the gym, which is crazy, right? Because you'd be thinking, you know, you want to go out there and fucking just, but a lot of times just listening to the podcast, I get worked up, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, going to the gym is a good thing. And I think it really has helped my mentals, because there was a time I was like, man, I'm just done with all this. I'm done with bands. I'm done with, you know, this is fun to me because I have no stress here, but, you know, worried about band shit sometimes is just too much, you know, especially now, because now I've got all these things in my head about reviving something old. Do I want to do that? Should I do that? You know, we've been talking about it. You think I should? I don't know if I should. I have the people to do it, or person that can help me do it. You know, it's just, do I really want to do I want to?
You only live once.
You know, for me, it's just, I want to hear my songs. They were never recorded, and I want to hear them. And I don't know if anybody else does or not. I'm not doing it for them. You know,
I say record them. You know, I always tell you that. And you never know, right? I mean, you know, obviously I've played in bands with your bands. I've played in bands with you. I say record the songs, but I always tell you that. That's my advice to you.
Well, it was weird because we were, you know, when we drive home, a lot of times Bryce asks me about stuff, bands. Like these guys were talking about, hey, we wrote a song about Elder Scrolls or whatever, you know, and I'm like, I got you beat. I wrote a song in Contorted called Carnage of Wither Remains, and it's literally, if you've ever played Diablo, listen to the lyrics and you'll know exactly, because when you go up to the little books, it gives you sayings. And what I did was I thesaurused all the sayings and flipped all the words and just wrote a song about Diablo, the video game Diablo.
I think that's Phantom was doing that too, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I was doing it, you know, obviously this is 1996, 97, you know, 98, around that area. So that's, you know, as you know, I only write about movies, current events. I don't write too much horror stuff. I can, but I don't really generally. So, you know, but we were driving down the road and he asked me about something and I remembered the Eulogy record. So I put on that Human Harvest song and dude, that was 1995. And I was just like, man, that's fucking
1995 was a good year.
30 years ago, man. Yeah. 30 years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, that was such a fucking great song. All that demo was great. That whole fucking demo was great. And I'm just thinking, man, just look at it now. It's like there were times where you felt like you were on top of the world. And now I'm just like, you know, generic Christ. I thought we had a comeback. I thought we fucking were like, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl.
We did one show, did we?
Your whole thing's been cut except for 2 people.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you got the Monstrosity stuff coming up, which we're excited about. And, you know, that'll be coming up very soon. And we'll be talking about that on here. And, you know, and like I said, man, I always say, and Ed, people like, we talk every day outside the show. So, you know, we're not just meeting up here and talking. We talk all the time. And I always say, man, it's one cool thing about doing this is that we are introduced to bands that we probably wouldn't know of, you know, just because we're not, I mean, you know, we're getting older now. We're not involved in, like, I'm not reading zines every day like I used to. I'm not getting physical copies of these things. Everything's on the internet. So it's one benefit of doing this is, and we hear a lot of bands, and the bands, sometimes we hear a few that stand out to us. And I can think of that personally. Ed knows I come sometimes and I'm like, hey, we had Blood Serpent on from Vietnam, a band who I think is killer. Who else do we have? There was a Heimland, right? I saw them. I was like, hey man, these guys let's bring them on the show, you know?
Witch Trap.
Witch Trap, who I think is fucking great and such an underrated band, man. Great band. Those guys. And then tonight, we have another one, another band that was not on my radar until I heard the Funeral Death EP and was like,
Well,
hey, man.
we're getting people on that generally don't want to do interviews with people.
Yeah, we get
like
some
Yarno, and then of course Revik was a great interview, and this is a guy that like he gets how the world works because we'll pimp his stuff. He's out there wearing our shirt, pimping our, and it's awesome because that dude is great and he has great content. I think he should have been a wrestler. In my opinion, you should go wrestle.
He would agree.
Because every time, dude, when he starts that shit off, I giggle and I'm like, yes, it's such a great gimmick, and I'm like, how did I miss out on this? Because
Ed doesn't get excited about much when it comes to Ed's
no, but he's a cool guy. Talking
to
him before and after the show, which people don't get to interact with that because they don't, it's not recorded. But man, if we did a show where we recorded the ending of our shows when we talk to people, especially people like King Fowley or Jeff Mantis, or there's been a few that threw some dirt that we were like, oh shit, that like, ooh, it's one of those TMZ moments when you would have been like, man, that shit would sell. And not that we're not even pulling it out of
show for people.
Yeah, well, we're not even pulling. We're not asking for that. They just are very open because we've had a very good discussion with them that they're being honest. And that's the thing. I've always, there's been people that I know that like, why won't you tell things that happened to you with this or this? And I'm like, because nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear that. Maybe they do, but I'm not the type of person to run around and just start shit. You know what I mean? It's in my past, and I don't care anymore. I just don't care. They don't hold any weight in my day to day. You know what I mean? They're out of my head, and I'm grateful for everything I've done. You know what I mean? There's not a band that I hate or whatever I've done that I'm like, oh fuck. I'm just like, I'm grateful because everything I did was a stepping stone to get to do what I've done.
Tampa Morgue.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it funny because when I talked to Lee about the whole monstrosity thing, when they were looking for a guitar player, when Jason left Eulogy, when Eulogy broke up and he became the singer, I'm like, dude, let me come try out. And he was like, dude, you can't do monstrosity, but hey, I got a band for you. And then he gets me in Brutality, and I was like, huh? Wait, I could play that, but I can't, And then I proved to him later that I could have played the monstrosity
now,
stuff
20-something years
and
later.
then I'm singing for him. So yeah, it's just everything's a circle in a kind of weird way.
No. And speaking of circles, this is the end of this one, I believe.
Yes.
Right?
This is the end.
Yeah. And I
Doomzilla,
definitely want to
go
thank
listen
Henrik.
to that song. It's a great song by Doomzilla.
Yeah, if you got about 15 minutes to kill, go check out The End from Doomzilla off.
Listen, I'm going to state this right now. I've done a lot of recording. That fucking song about broke me because it's so long and it's the same bass line throughout the whole fucking song almost. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And that
was
song
almost
is
one take. I got to say, I was very surprised at that one. I was a little nervous because, but I mean, for me, I think vocally it's a little
It's a tricky song. It's a tricky song because Jim Morrison is definitely the words he uses and stuff. That whole cover record is great. Go check it out.
Yeah, if it hasn't checked it out, it's Covered in Doom from Doomzilla. Came out, I think, 2 years ago now. And obviously, The Gift of Eternal Sleep before that, which is, me, Ed,
Killer.
Derek Roddy, and Jim Ross. Definitely worth checking out. And Mike Pagioni. Yeah. So, again, thanks to Henrik and Alec for hanging out with us tonight on the Tampa
Thanks for
Morgue.
Tony for hanging out with us tonight and being the co-host of the
That's
Millennium.
Right. That's right. I'm here as always, and we'll be back next week. I don't know if it'll just be me and Ed. We never know. As you can tell, we had no idea we were going to have a guest this week, and then 2 days ago, everything changed. So, wherever you listen to us, like I said, you can always find back episodes on the Instagram page, and obviously everything is on streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcast, right, Ed?
Yep.
Yeah, YouTube, we put audio up there, so that's all I got for you, everybody, today. So check us out on Instagram to find out upcoming guests. That's where they wind up first. You can always check us out on Facebook, even though Facebook we update it, but we don't have much traffic on there because we don't pay for the ads. And as Ed, anything else?
No, sir. I'm hoping for another eventless week.
There you go. That's right. Beginning of hurricane season next week. We're all excited not. But yeah. Ed, I'll catch you on episode 93.
Yes, sir.
Everyone have a good night. Peace.
See ya.
This is King Fally from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.